Hello and welcome to the Philmont Trek Talk Q&A that we do every single month, except for like the last month when we didn't do it. But we're back this month. This is for November 2023, which means we've already done all of our wrap up from the 2023 summer trekking season. And we are very solidly into prep for the 2024 and 2025 seasons.
Wow.
That's why we're here. We are here to help everyone have the absolute best treks possible. So while we give a little time for people to filter in, I'll give a couple. You know what? I'm not going to give those reminders. I'm going to wait for people to show up. So let's do introductions. Hi, I'm Jeff. I run gearreport.com and created the Philmont Trek Talk group several years ago as a resource to help everyone who wants to go to Philmont, send kids to Philmont, take people to Philmont, anything Philmont related. I'll be facilitating the discussion this evening and telling you to ask your crew leader, because that's the appropriate answer. It doesn't even matter what the question is. That's the appropriate answer. This guy over here, yeah, you got to look at the screen, Darrell, so you can tell I'm pointing at you. This guy would like to introduce himself as well.
Yeah, Darrel Tadsen, Greater St. Louis Area Council. Multiple council contingents have I led, plus crew advisor for several others. Also had the opportunity the last several years to be a part-time staff person at the Welcome Center. And we are here to answer your questions and, like Jeff said, make it the best trip possible.
All right, Rob. All right, we're going to go to Andy while Rob sorts out why we can't hear him.
Microphones.
Yeah.
They're important. My name's Andy. I'm here just to drive Jeff crazy. No, I'm actually the high adventure chair for my troop here in Westfield, Indiana. I'm also an outdoor adventure person. I've got a YouTube channel, Andy Parrish Outdoors. I do everything: backpacking, hiking, kayaking, canoeing, you name it, all over the country, and film it. And I guess I bored Rob a little bit because he's gone. So that's me.
That was amazing. I mean, the efficiency with which you dispatched Rob from the program. That's impressive.
It's a talent.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did we say something? There he is. Still quiet.
Do you know sign language? You could write it out and just hold it up.
Nothing makes the program go better than technical difficulties, right? I'm Rob. Well, we appreciate you being here. Maybe while you figure out what the audio issue is, I can introduce everyone to Andy Parrish Outdoors on the YouTubes.
Hey, I know that guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop.
I just posted our high adventure trip from Colorado from this past summer. So we did a 4-day hike, and then we did climbing a 14er out there. So those videos are up there. Took 10 scouts, 5 of us dads went along, had a blast.
That sounds amazing.
All right, I figured it out. All right.
Hey,
Rob.
Did you plug in the microphone? Or is it the power button?
It was on the wrong microphone. You know, there's so many. So
yeah.
All right. Well, and I guess I'll introduce myself since everybody's seen my sign language. So, Rob Smith. I'm also from the Greater St. Louis Area Council. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm Rob. I've got lists. It doesn't work. But I'm on the other side of the country than Darrell, or another state. Our council's so big it doesn't matter. So with Troop 85 in O'Fallon, Illinois, and I high adventure chair, also part of highadventurescouting.com. So
he is.
And I did interview Andy for a episode of the High Adventure Scouting podcast, which I need to upload. But and had lunch
really
with
good.
it. Great. It was a lot of fun.
Right.
Yeah. Bought me lunch. There you go.
You put me on a podcast, I'll take you out to lunch.
Exactly. Yeah.
What are you doing next week, Andy?
Taking you out to lunch?
Yeah. All right. That's amazing.
You got to drive to Indy, and
You
then
got to drive to Indy.
Oh,
yeah.
It's not delivery.
yeah.
It's just driving.
Which I may do at some point in the future. I have a relative who is in a medical facility in Indy that I probably need to go visit pretty soon here. And there it is. See, it takes me a minute to catch up. You know, like, did I know Andy was going to mention Andy Parrish Outdoor? Sure, but I still had to look it up right when he said it.
That's
Same
right.
thing with Rob. He said it, and I was like, oh yeah, I got to do that. So I got the link up for you there. Here we go. Which, you know, and now it occurs to me, I never even put my own publications link up there. I'm going to do that too, because why not, right? What good is it to be the one directing a program if you don't get to do shameless plugs during said program, right?
Exactly.
Since we're in things on the screen,
shameless.
I have yeah, isn't that the truth? I have you know, the Philmont Trek Talk little banner thingy. Oh, whoa, what did yours had extra stuff on it, Darrell? Hold that one up again. A little higher. Supporting the Philmont Recovery Fund. Mine don't say that.
No, that's a fancy one there.
Yeah, that's
That's the
amazing.
new version.
Rob, do we just need to take Rob off the screen? He looks so forlorn that he is left out on this. I kind of feel bad about that.
I wanted to post the live out on the High Adventure Scouting site, and you know,
Oh, that's amazing.
While you were talking, I figured that was the best way to do it. So.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So I showed you Scott's. I actually have mine here as well. And I wanted to bring this up to show people because we're going to talk about two things really on this version of the program. So this month we are rolling into the holiday gift giving season, regardless of, you know, which holidays you participate in and how you do it. Most people are doing gifts sometime between now and the end of the year. So that's a great chance for advisors and scouts and people who support them to go into gift buying mode, which means folks are going to be looking at what gear do they need for a trek. So we're going to talk about some of the most giftable things, because I know with the scouts that I have been around when they're gearing up and the advisors, they lean heavily on friends and family with their Christmas list, so to speak, to say, hey, here's what I need. So we want to help people put together appropriate list so that they can get the stuff they need and not be burdened with a bunch of things that well-meaning people gifted them that they feel guilty like they have to carry with them, even though they don't need to take them. So that's one of our goals here, is help talk about how to narrow down things for gifting. And then another, actually, probably let's go into the other one sooner rather than later, because I get into gear. Gear's what I do for a living, right? So I get into
need a
gear,
chair.
I forget about
Chairs. That's what you need, chairs.
Oh, how did that happen? We lost Rob. Did you do that?
Amazing technology.
Wow. Oh, I think he may be in the green room. He stepped out for cookies, I think. So I'm gonna summon him back to the green room here.
Chair, and boots.
Amazing to me. Yeah. So since we hadn't done one of these in a while, why don't we start, because I'll forget otherwise, with important updates. So Darrell, or Mr. T on the screen, has been our designated Philmont staff member, basically, for this discussion. And I understand some new things that come out for people who are leading crews in 2024. Some new information has been published recently, and policies and procedures and whatnot. So if you don't mind, if you get us up to date on all the latest and greatest, once we get the important stuff out of the way, we can dive into the fun stuff and talk about all the gear.
Yeah, we have a tendency to get into the weeds sometime. Anyways,
Yeah.
I've heard from Philip Ferrier, Associate Program Director at Philmont, some of the concerns that not concerns, but points that he would like to make. The preparedness seminars, which will be coming up this Thursday, and there'll be one every month through April on various topics. Their topic this coming Thursday is going to be gear and the introduction of a, what do they call it, Trek selector. But it's really not Trek selector. It is filling in your crew. If you have vacancies and are willing to take on additional crew members, youth or adult, either from your council or anywhere across the country, you could submit that on the gateway, and Philmont will try to do, as I understand it, some cross matching. But Thursday night at 6:30 Mountain, they're going to introduce that and on their prep seminar and show you how to use it. They're actively opening now staff applications for summer of 2024. Itineraries are being reviewed, and from what I understand, they will, in 2023, they pretty well close down the Vol for restoration and giving it a rest, and they're going to be bringing it back, some itineraries into the fall for 2024. Monica in registration wants to alert everybody that, how do I put it? They are highly recommending 3 adults over 21 and 3 Wilderness First Aid CPR trained individuals. This is in preparation for it being a requirement in 2025. Also, keep in mind that youth must have a buddy. So if you're taking, an all male crew and 1 female, you need 2 females and 1 female adult advisor. And conversely, if you have an all female crew and you want to take a male youth, you need 2 and a adult advisor. So that other point, Wilderness First Aid CPR, they're coming from the position that they've seen in the last several years that adults having to come off the trail typically have been the person who is trained in CPR and Wilderness First Aid, and that has some limitations on the crew at that point. So they're moving in that direction, and that is also in compliance with the NCAP standards coming out from national. And like I said, it's a precursor to a requirement in 25. Hearing from the Tooth of Time traders, which will lead us back to our topic. Ashley indicates that they have just published a new catalog. I don't know if it's going to be mailed or not, but it is in that kind of a format, catalog of items available. They, let me make my notes here. They are going to be having Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales. So watch their webpage for that. And they will have, she says, 3 special sales in December in preparation for gift giving in the holiday season. I think of all of this, the big key one to take away from here is the adult leadership and the CPR Wilderness First Aid issues. Those are really key and to the health and safety of the crew. That's kind of what I have on the Philmont update.
I got to remember to I keep muting myself so you don't hear me typing, and then I forget to unmute it, and I talk to myself on camera for a bit. So I wanted to touch on a couple things that you talked about here. 2025 registration open, but there was also a link to the section of the gateway. Let's see, that would be this one. If you want to go in summer 2024. And that was a little confusing to me when I saw this where it says treks are still available. And instead of giving you a menu of anything to look at, it's just a contact form. Like, give us your email address and then go on to the next one. So maybe it will present you more as you get deeper into that. But if you have any interest in getting on as an individual or as, supplementing a crew, whatever, anything you'd like to do for 2024, it looks like that is your starting point. We're going to keep in the Philmont Trek Talk group on Facebook. We are going to keep the pinned post that we have at the top. Let's see. Community chat. Nope, not that one. All right. Bear with me while we deal with the incompetence of the guy running the board here. Let me get these out of the way. At the very top of the Philmont Trek Talk group on Facebook, you can see here that we have some pinned posts. One of them up here is Philmont 2024 Trek openings. Now, that's something that I had talked to the management at Philmont a couple summers ago, that they were going to have something to supplement this or maybe replace it. I said, oh, that's wonderful. Just let me know as soon as it's available. We'll stop doing this additional forum for people to kind of make connections. So I think for now, we're going to leave the 2024 up there and see how this goes. And if people feel like they're being served well by the discussion that happens in here, where you can post the information of what you're looking for, either as a crew that has openings or as an individual who'd like to join a crew, we're going to leave that up there and allow people to continue to use that. My sincere hope is that this forum is going to dry up to nothing because everyone's getting what they need out of the Camping Gateway, where Philmont has created this matching tool. So as long as it works well, we won't need this anymore. I won't even create the one for 2025. If we find people saying, well, I submitted it, I'm not hearing anything, it's just not working, we'll go ahead and create that as kind of a backup to them.
Jeff, one item on that, Sal and I were experimenting with it and looking at it. If you're a council contingent, well, I guess for anyone, the only person that can access, from what I'm seeing, and Thursday may change the topic or the discussion, the only person that has access to the Philmont site for Trek or filling of members and so forth is the reservation contact, not the lead advisor. So if you're part of a council contingent, it has to be the reservation contact. And if you're, and I don't want to say merely, but if you are the crew advisor and not the contact, reservation contact, that'll be blocked out for you.
Yeah.
Again, listen on Thursday to what Philmont has to say.
Yeah, I'm eager to hear what they had to say. Unfortunately, I have another broadcast at that time, so I'm never able to catch theirs live. But hopefully, they'll answer all the questions. They have a little bit more of a presentation format. We're more of discussion with folks, and they're more of just telling people things. So,
and the point also that Philmont, those prep seminars are recorded, and 24 hours after live, they will be available for reviewing again. So,
and I've dropped the link to the prep seminars out there because, I mean, I don't want anyone to think we're competing with them in that we do this once a month. They do it once a month for, most of the year. We have very different formats. They have an agenda where, if you look at this page here, they're covering a lot of information. They're basically kind of going through the guidebook and making sure that they put all of the important stuff, all the most important stuff out there. We're not doing that. We're having chats to answer people's questions and getting off topic. And, we have very different goals and ways that we run this. So don't think you're coming here so you don't need to go to theirs. If you're going to skip one, skip ours and go to theirs if you can only do one. Did I really just say that?
Just watch both.
Well, yeah, of course, watch both if you can. But if you have to skip one, skip ours and go watch theirs, because they give you
come back at a later date next week and watch ours.
They're all stored here.
Right, they are. So you can go to the
at your convenience
report, and you can get them off the Camping Gear Report YouTube channel. We had been able to get them all off of Facebook, but I had, so one of the amazing things about using Facebook to host our group is that they can take something you posted 8 years ago that was fine, but they decide for some reason that they don't like it and suspend your account. So then you can't post lives for a month. Because that happened to me. That's one of the reasons we didn't do this last month, is my account wouldn't support it anyway. Plus, a couple of us had other things going on, so we just said, you know what, we'll skip this one. So that one, you wouldn't have found that. Even if we broadcast last month, you wouldn't have found it on Facebook because they wouldn't let me post there at the time. So let's dive into gear talk, because that's the part. Team chair, really, Rob? Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that first thing. Let's dive into some controversial stuff to kick it off. What are the things? What are the things that you can think of that people might want to ask for as gifts? So I tend to, in my family, I guess the way we tend to have been brought up was the best gifts are things that people wouldn't buy for themselves. Like they'd want, but for whatever reason, it's like, well, I wouldn't get it for myself. So you can really surprise them and give them something cool that they wouldn't get for themselves. I'll tell you right now, I would never buy a chair to go to Philmont. So if anyone wants to buy me one, here's your opportunity. What do you guys think?
Or give him boots.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I actually got a new pair of boots last year, believe it or not. I'd never wear them to Philmont, but I did get a pair of boots. I help the U.S. Army occasionally with some training, and I need like a pseudo uniform for that kind of stuff. So I did get new boots. Andy wrote something about footwear. If you want to read about footwear, you can go read his article. Let's see, we're a little over 2 years old. Maybe that one needs updated here. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. There's still some good discussion about figuring out what you like, sorting
different categories,
options. Yeah. Andy's much more objective on this than I am. So definitely go check that out if you like. Let's see. I dropped a link out there in the chat.
How about the mention, particularly for youth at this time with footwear? Maybe not quite yet if they're still growing.
Yeah.
You may want to wait, but not too long, so they have an opportunity to break them in.
Yeah, it's a very good point. I definitely recommend that if you got someone who's still growing, that you not dive on that just yet. Maybe you want to look into socks, and you can figure that out, because even as their feet grow a little bit, what are the odds? I mean, don't let me jinx this for anyone. I was going to say, what are the odds they're going to grow out of their socks? I've seen kids grow like 4 shoe sizes in a 3-month period before. And so we've got some discussion on socks here as well. I thought I had another one up here somewhere.
And socks and a few of those other items may be stocking stuffers.
Yeah, it's very good.
Stocking, your stocking stuffer?
A sock for your sock.
Yeah.
Is it socks or stocks?
Socks.
Yeah.
A stocking stuffer.
Yes.
Driving the parkway and wire.
Here's one. Since Rob talked about chairs, what do you guys think? Is this the kind of thing that people should be putting on their list?
Oh.
Well, for me, the bigger ticket items that people want to have, if they know they want to have something, I think these kind of holiday sales are a great time to go look for those kind of things. Yeah. So what are the typically the more expensive things? Your footwear can be expensive. If you are bringing a luxury item like a chair, a lot of times now there are some budget options, so you can find some things out there in the $20, $30, $40 range. Some of them can be more expensive, so potentially sale time, Black Friday, that kind of thing makes some sense for that. I'd also look into your sleep system. A lot of times that can be pretty pricey too, potentially, depending on what you're doing. You can get a nice closed cell foam pad for one of the boys, and that might be fine, and it's $50, and maybe you get a little discount on it. If you're looking at some of the air mats, the inflatable ones that are a little bit more comfortable, or maybe a mom or dad that's going that maybe their back isn't going to take sleeping on a little closed cell foam pad like the boys and girls can deal with. So those can be a little bit more expensive to very expensive depending on what you're looking at. So the bigger ticket items, I think this time of year, are you looking at a new sleeping bag,
Backpack.
a backpack, all of those kind of things? Are you considering bringing your own tent? All of those can really be difficult to find on a budget. And this time of year, if they're going to go on sale, you might as well take advantage of it if you've planned ahead and know kind of what you want.
And I would suggest, even if you don't pick the shoes, the footwear right now, or the sleeping bag, maybe a gift card that's of sufficient value that says that the individual can go to the store and pick out exactly what they want. Because I really wanted a blue sleeping bag and not a green one.
So I think one of the ways that I want to address this is for the people who want to be helpful, who may end up getting things that aren't going to be useful. I'd like people to understand, like if you're looking to buy gifts for people or help gear someone up to go to Philmont, there are two types of gear. So there's individual gear and there's crew gear. And you'll see here, Darrel held up one of the publications there, the Guidebook to Adventure, which every crew is going to have. And then on the Philmont Scout Ranch website, they have an equipment list. So these are both things that can help the attendees figure out what it is they need to take with them. But because we have crew gear and we have individual gear, and because people generally are going as part of a crew, it's different than a normal backpacking trip. So you don't want to just get, I love this thing, here's what you need to take. Well, yeah. I personally love the Fozzles flat, they fold out flat plates and bowls and cups, and they're like origami. You fold them up and clip the corners to make your bowls and cups and plates. I absolutely love those. I highly recommend those for Philmont. But depending on how a crew wants to do things, I've seen crews where, even though it's not my recommendation, they find some sort of like a little plastic bowl and lid that nests together, and they get one for everyone in the crew. So if you went and bought that Fozzles pack for someone in a crew that is dictating what meal stuff they're taking, you don't want to get something that's not going to work for them. So unfortunately, I have been to Philmont several times. I couldn't go out and buy many things for someone because I don't know what they have already. I don't know what their crew has agreed on as far as we're all carrying knives. Only 2 people are carrying knives. Here's the type of water containers we're taking. There may be some agreements already in place based on, are they going to filter water? Are they going to do only the chemical treatment? What kind of cooking and how are they going to serve things? So absolutely, you can go through this list and get stuff off of that list, but you don't know what they have already. You don't know if there are things they're agreeing on. And especially with the crew gear could be a fantastic gift to get someone, but only if they're actually going to use it, So what else do people need to be aware of in that regard? Like if someone's a backpacker, like, I know what the person needs.
That might not translate to Philmont specifically, like water filters and things like that. I mean, you're going to have definitely some items that are great in the backcountry that if you're going out on your own or you're even in a small group, completely makes sense. But, for a Philmont crew environment, you might not have any need at all. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I agree with Mark here. He says,
Thanks,
Mark, only if they have the needs covered. I agree with that. Yeah. Needs covered and the available weight carrying capacity and room in their pack. A chair is a want unless your name is Rob. Okay. But
my own son said I'm crazy for carrying extra pounds for a chair. And
Yeah,
he
yeah.
didn't carry because he was minimalist. And I said, I don't care. I'm older than you and I want a chair. And I'm carrying it, so don't worry. And he said, fine. So he didn't carry a chair and I did.
And as much as we pick at each other about chairs and boots and shoes and all that stuff, my thought on this, not that it carries any weight with anyone but me, but my thought on this is, as long as you can carry it and you can keep up with your crew, and if you go down with an injury and your crew has to carry your stuff, they're not going to be overly burdened by it. As long as you meet all three of those criteria, I really don't care what you take. You know, well, the fourth one is going to be, it's not like blatantly against the rules. I had to shut down a discussion a couple of weeks ago that started where someone said, you know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, hammocks are prohibited at Philmont. Ha, ha, ha. I always take mine. And I was like, whoa, we are not even going to entertain that discussion here. So, no, I'm not saying anything about, you know, taking anything you shouldn't take. What I'm saying is, as long as it's within the rules and you can carry it and it's not going to overly burden your crew, more power to you. So I'm not going to carry a chair. You want to carry a chair, that's absolutely fine. And if you want to, we've even got that guide somewhere up here. We had it, at least. I don't know where it went. Oh, there it is. Philmont seating, what to bring. I mean, for me, that's easy. You know, bring a little foam seat pad. They have a bunch of different options. They're super cheap. They weigh like an ounce or two at the most. They get your butt off the ground. So that,
well, in that picture, you see a guy sitting on a log. I think he might have a pad underneath him. You got a guy sitting on a stool, and then you've got some guys sitting on the ground and some guys sitting in chairs. So there's lots of different
on a rock
ways to do it.
And if you really want to go budget, wait until you get to Philmont. And when you have the first meal, save the meal bag and use that for a sit-upon. At least it's a barrier between your butt and the cold ground or the wet log or something.
Yeah.
So Facebook user, if you would like to be like Mark, where we can actually see what your name is when you post, then go to streamyard.com/Facebook and give it permission to display your name. And then you will no longer be the generic Facebook user. All right, I'm going to switch us here. This is annoying me. I'm going to put Rob up there so we can see him, and I'll hide myself every time I put a comment on the screen. That seems like more the thing to
I'm
do.
better looking than you anyway, so that works out.
That's what people keep telling me, and who am I? Oh, there you go. Andy Parrish Outdoors totally agrees. Excellent. All right. So, yeah.
I think for the discussion, you know, I think it probably is, what does the individual need?
Yeah.
I mean, the crew gear, that's a whole different dynamic and so forth. But
yeah. So speaking of crew
gear,
gear,
generic. I mean,
so would we recommend that the scouts, the parents that are going, put together their Christmas list of items that they would like if you know, they want family members to potentially get them something that could be used in Philmont? Would we recommend then that it's probably worthwhile to maybe build a lighter pack list or some other Christmas list?
Not a generic, I need a sleeping bag, but a link to the specific make and model.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going to say. And
you know, that's
someone
what
has
I used to do as a crew or as a lead advisor. I would send that out to the parents in our crew. That okay, here are some good options for, you know, sleeping bags, for footwear, for, you know, usually socks, easy stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm big on the you know, we saw stocking stuffers, but you know, things like headlamps and stuff sacks and ditty bags, and those are easy things that they may or may not have, and you know,
they're easy, but also easy to get. You can't see. Let me get this out of the way. Wrong. You see me doing air quotes here. Wrong meaning any headlamp will probably work, right? But if you get one that is that's waterproof, it's more durable, that's lighter, that has the right kind of power source, you know. I used to be nothing but AAA batteries. Now I've used rechargeable USB powered, you know, rechargeable headlamps for the last couple treks. So it's not as simple as I need a headlamp, I need a sleeping bag, I need a backpack. There are like actual pros and cons to every piece of gear, and they do make a difference. So I'm going to suggest that people, when you make your list, be very specific in your list. Andy, I'd like to ask you to expound on lighter pack. Tell us what it is and why people would use it, how they would use it in this regard, please.
Well, and you can use it a couple different ways. In this regard, it's a great way to build a list of gear. So you can build, I enter, if I buy something for camping, backpacking, canoe, Boundary Waters, Philmont, whatever, I'm going to enter it into my list, and it's going to store it. And then for a specific trip, what's nice is I can say, okay, for this trip, we're going to Colorado for 4 days. Which backpack do I want to bring? I can draw that, bring that over onto the list, and I can bring this tent, this sleeping pad, and I can build that list out. You can add in weight for it. You can add in description into that list. So if you want it to add up and give you a grand total of what your list weighs, that's on there. You can even add links for, those people in your lives that want to maybe buy you something for the holidays, and you can link it to Amazon or REI or wherever. So it takes them right there. So you could share this list, and it has links if you've taken the time to do that. I posted one just there as an example. You can go to that one. There are some active links on there. It's just kind of an example I built a year or two back, just called Philmont on a Scout's Budget, and just a couple different ideas of different things. But it shows you I've entered some weights. What's their pack weight going to look like? You can play with that, and you can customize it however you like. But I really find that then a very useful tool as you get into training, and using this to list to evaluate, well, what did you really use? What didn't you use? Do you have too much duplication? Sometimes when you write it all down or enter it, you really start to notice, do I need 4 shirts? Maybe I can cut it down to 2. Like, all those things become much more apparent. So,
and you get to the point where you weigh absolutely. I weighed down to the lighter and the everything. So,
oh yeah, absolutely. The little pack towel that I bring is in there. My my spoon.
You can get obsessive about it. It's fun. So
just all different kinds of stuff in there. My compass, my first aid kit, my pocket knife, my toothpaste, my toothbrush, all of that stuff is included in there. Just as an example. And it's great. Then it's all in one place. And then if I want to go on a different trip where maybe we're doing Boundary Waters and I'm doing a slightly different loadout, everything's entered into that database. I can pick and choose what I'm bringing on this other trip and drag and drop that stuff over to the list. So it's just a very useful tool. It's free. You can go to lighterpack.com, create an account, doesn't cost you anything. You just have to enter all your equipment, weigh your equipment, give it a title or a description, and go from there.
So when you say weigh equipment, you can use a kitchen scale. I got a couple different little digital scales here. I actually had someone warn me once. One of the Scout parents saw it. He was a local police chief, and he was like, any of my guys pull you over and see that in your car, they're going to assume you're a drug dealer. I said, well, okay, I'll just ask them to call you then, but it just a little digital scale that you can put it on and get in ounces. I actually have 2 of them because I realized one of them, the capacity was a little bit too low. So it's got to be enough to cover. Let's see, this one will only do 100 grams. That's pretty light. This one will go up to 2,000 grams. So you probably want one that'll do a little higher amount, like the 2,000 or a little bit more, and weigh it, put it in your sheet. And I use a shared spreadsheet like a Google Sheets. Mm-hmm. And I put all my stuff in with the weights, and then I can select whether it's in the count or not in the count. And it could be used as a gift list as well, just like lighter pack. So it doesn't matter how you do it. There are a couple different ways you can go about it. Norm, you can see by his little icon there that he is a member of the Sea Scouts like myself. So we are allowed to do things at Philmont with the Dirt Scouts, but he takes his scouts and parents to REI. I have sort of mixed feelings on that. I think that if you're going to, well, and this is true of any crew advisor, if you're going to make gear recommendations, you kind of have a duty to be sure you're right about this stuff, you know? And I say right, I mean, there's a certain level, and I should take Norm off the screen because I'm not talking about Norm here at all. I'm talking about in general. I mean, gear is what I do for a living. So I would hope that I have a little bit more, a broader scope and look at gear than a lot of people. But I've seen what I'm getting at. I've seen some crew advisors give their crews advice that in my mind is pretty heinous. So before you take the responsibility of giving people advice on what gear to bring and what not to bring, be sure you're up to speed on what is like. It doesn't have to be the current state of the art, cutting edge stuff, but at least get in the current decade. A lot of what I see when people give bad advice, and this goes for people buying gifts as well. They went to Philmont in '73, and they know what they took, and that's what they buy. Out.
He said 73,
you
not
Dutch
53.
ovens, didn't you, Darrell?
Yeah.
I think another thing that the buyer, and looking at this, I mean, you're going to, as Andy said, you're going to find a price range, a wide spectrum.
Yeah.
I think the four of us here look at our gear as an investment. So is the individual that you're buying for, is this probably going to be a one and done?
Right.
And do you want to drop $350 on a sleeping bag?
You know, something that just occurred to me, and I've heard people suggest this before, and I've never been willing to do it, but I'm hearing you say that, and I'm like, we really need to set up a gear exchange as part of the whole Philmont Trek Talk thing, where people can go in and post, like after a trek, here are all the things I have available and what I'm looking to get for them.
Right. A scout
And then they can work out.
Can we call it the swap box? Can we call it the swap
We could do that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
That is a phenomenal idea. Yeah. All right. So Andy's in charge of creating a swap box for us.
No corn nuts or what was
What was the thing
Right,
last
peanut
year? It was the
what kind of beans last year? Chickpeas.
chickpeas. That's it. Don't do that.
The comment that came up before about going to REI. Okay. Several years back, there was a backpack store here in town called Backwoods, and I got to know the management pretty well. And you might be able to do this with REI. I think they would be open to it, that you bring your crew in, all of your crew in on one particular night, and they kind of will dedicate a person to work with you, and maybe even, hey, through this particular group, when you come in, where we went, they gave them a 10% discount.
Nice.
Yeah. And,
if you're setting that up for your crew, or your council contingent or whatever, it's probably better done at a crew level. But if you're setting this up for your crew, you need to be sure that whoever it is that they assign to advise your people, like if you're not doing it yourself,
right.
If you're getting an REI staff person to talk, they need to know some of the basic differences between backpacking and a Philmont trek.
Right.
Gear
And a lot of the REI staff are Philmont alumni.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a big difference between a through hiker on the Appalachian and a 9-day trek at Philmont.
Yes. We could talk about how much of that difference is appropriate or not, but we don't have to go down that route. The rules are the rules. Yeah.
Well, Darrell made a great point though of trying to evaluate, are you buying for somebody that's going to go again? Like when we buy gear, I'm going 4 times a year doing different things. So I know I'm going to use it dozens and dozens of times. And some of the people that are going on the trek, they might be one and done, and you don't want to invest a whole lot in either seeing if they want to be interested, want to continue with it, or they're telling you ahead of time, I'm just doing this like one time thing. And like, for example, a puffy jacket, you can spend get a down puffy jacket and spend 200 and up for those kind of things. Or you can just go buy a polyester fill puffy. I got this one for my son for $19. It's on sale right now for $19 online for just a hooded puffy. You know, it's completely fine and it will do him well. He may outgrow it in a couple years, you know, that kind of thing. I don't want to invest hundreds of dollars into the lightest of the light if I don't even know if he's going to continue with this stuff. So
yeah. And also,
the Philmont experience may trigger this, you know, that he likes to do it. And in the coming years, he can gradually change out his equipment to a more investment.
You got a big balance that you're trying to work on here, where cost versus durability versus weight versus utility versus do they even need to have it or not. There are a lot of variables at play here. So I'm going to say, don't just go buy stuff. Make sure that your person that you're buying for has given a specific list. And as far as what they need versus, you know, something to get them through a trek versus like investment grade equipment, maybe we call it, understand that, especially if you're going kind of minimalist and ultralight, where you have, you're expecting your items to fill potentially multiple roles. If that item that's going to fill multiple roles fails, you're in more trouble than if you have single-use items, right? And this is a philosophy that a lot of backpackers use, is I'm not just going to wear a puffy for a certain scenario. This is going to be my insulation in a couple different scenarios. Or, you know, I'm going to carry trekking poles, but they're also going to be the poles to my tent. Well, that's great until you break a trekking pole or drop it off the cliff. And now, like, oh, I can only set my tent halfway up now. So be careful with that kind of thing. In doing your bargain shopping. Like if it's going to fill multiple roles, be sure you get one that's going to last. And there are things that you don't really want to scrimp on. I don't even want to open this can of worms, because I happen to believe that the $20 to $30 option is potentially the best option here. But I've seen people on treks that had $350, $400 space age, whatever the newest version of Gore-Tex is, rain suits, who ended up hypothermic and chilled and soaked to the bone because the rain suits failed, where I was there in my $20 backpacking poncho and the only one in the crew that wasn't hypothermic. So I'm not saying you have to spend you have to spend a ton of money. I have heard people say most important item in your pack is if you're going to only spend money in one place, spend it on high quality rain gear. And I'm going to say it doesn't have to be expensive rain gear. It has to be rain gear that you know how to use, as a total system. Understand that for backpacking, there are some like me that believe that rain gear isn't to keep you dry. It's to keep you from getting hypothermia. So if it happens to keep you mostly dry, that helps prevent hypothermia. It can be additional warmth. It could be a lot of great things. But if you have this heavy rain suit, and you get a little rain come through and it's an 80-degree day and you're backpacking up a mountain, you're going to be soaked to the bone with sweat because it can't vent all of that in time. So think about your rain gear. Don't assume you're doing someone a favor and buying them that $500 rain suit for their Philmont trek. That may not be what they need. You may be able to get away with something a bit more budget friendly. Show of hands for anyone who supports the wear of frog togs on a Philmont trek. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go with Darrel and say part way. Depends on the person. Yeah.
If frog togs come in a couple of grades, I mean, if you do the bargain basement, you know, $29.95 for the whole suit, they tend to rip a lot easier. But if you're willing to spend the extra 10 or 15 and get their next level, you know, and I think they even got one out ultimate now, and it's up in the $100 range.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I tend to think that it depends on how attentive to their gear they are. There are some people, like when I was a scout, I was a walking tear waiting to happen. It didn't matter what I was wearing. I was going to snag it on something and rip it. Frog togs would have lasted me all of, the first time I went to put them on, I'd have ripped the crotch out while I was putting my leg in, So keep in mind, if someone is really attentive to their gear and careful not to rip it, maybe they can get away with that. I tend to think adults are probably better suited. A lot of the youth that are out there just really aren't. That's not the best choice for them. They're going to shred it in short order. And especially if they're using those for long pants for their cons project as well. You got to be sure that it's something that's going to hold up to that. Norm has had good luck with the heavy duty frog togs, he says.
Mm-hmm.
All right, good.
I kind of look at things, and when I talk to the crew, I talk to them about, particular items. I say that I call them the foundations of backpacking. Your backpack, your footwear, your sleeping system, and rain gear. I mean, if your feet aren't comfortable, you're not comfortable. If the backpack doesn't work, it just doesn't work. And if you're not getting sleep at night, after 2 or 3 days, if you're going to spend money, I would put it into those areas. Socks and hiking sticks and hats and gloves and all of that. That that isn't that critical. But if you're not comfortable either walking or sleeping, it's going to be a miserable trip.
Yeah, I've seen a number of people who 3 days in, their feet are shredded, and it's like, wait, you mean I really have at least 7 more days of this? It's like, yeah.
So, but coming back to it, I think, the guidebook to adventure, it's online, the 2023 version. There's several places at Philmont to find the gear list, of what they recommend. Bring those down, look at them. I mean, the laundry list of items, can be as long as your arm, but what do you really need? What do you really want?
So they've got this printable, but it's a PDF version. They call it the 2024 Shakedown List. I think this is for crew advisors or crew leaders. Maybe you want to set up a crew meeting where you give everyone a copy of this list and you go through and have everyone pull their pack out and identify this stuff and talk about anything people disagree on. Talk about it. Because there may be a reason that people need to have it. There may be a reason you can talk people out of a bunch of stuff that they don't need, which is going to make them, lighter and faster and happier probably on the trail. Like you could talk me out of taking a sports bra that I see here on the list. That wouldn't be hard for you to do. Maybe. But if I am a good scout and I see that it's telling me I need to take all the stuff on the list, I may be like, Mom, I don't understand, but it's on the list. So no, I don't know what size I need. Just guess.
Well, there was a discussion I commented on this past week about long underwear, and so forth. And I never take, or this person said, that's beyond what you need. Da 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 da. But you got to look at the application and. I've been at Philmont a number of years, and I've never taken my rain gear out of the backpack. It hasn't rained. And when you're hiking in the day, long underwear may not be great, but think about the evening and the sleeping when the sun goes down and it gets cool.
Yeah.
That's always my sleeping gear that's what I use.
So people think about being out in the desert and they don't realize how cold it gets, especially up at altitude at night sometimes.
Yeah, you can. I mean, not only cold. I mean, you can get a hailstorm and drop that temperature, 20, 30 degrees, and you've already kind of worked up a sweat. And down here about hypothermic, you're flirting with that danger. And Philmont covers that list. To kind of cover all of the applications, but like I've carried rain pants for years and years and years and never wore them.
Right. Yeah. Well, yet there are people who you have to have.
Let me change that statement. I never wore them for rain purposes, but I put them on in the evening for warmth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's keeping the water out, it's going to keep the wind out.
Yeah, that's certainly one approach. And for long underwear, someone who argues against long underwear, I'll tell you my philosophy on long underwear is I am rarely going to wear it when we're hiking, but on every trek, I have worn it at least 1 or 2 days, especially if we're doing something like a high summit. We're going to be at a higher altitude. Going up Baldy, it's steep enough. You're not going to be going too fast. Like you're going to be generating some heat, but it's windy. Like you need it. For me, I'll have my zip off pants with the long underwear under them. And if I get hot, I'll take the legs off, but the long underwear is still there. But the big thing for long underwear for me, typically I'm going to have them as my sleep clothes instead of carrying a 0-degree bag or a 20-degree bag. I'm going to have like I use a quilt now instead of a bag, but instead of carrying a heavier quilt, I take long underwear to give me a little extra buffer on temperature. And then if there's an emergency, I can take that long underwear out of my sleep kit and wear it. You know, if my other long underwear get wet or something, you know, and maybe I won't take 2 sets, but I'll take like the long underwear shirt and then kind of a thermal Under Armour type shirt, for example. So I do have kind of redundancy on something critical like that, because I'm telling you, I have been literally the only person in the crew who wasn't battling hypothermia and had people I was medically worried about, like, get in your sleeping bag right now. And, oh, you want to argue with me? Good. That's going to generate body heat. So let me jaw with you for a few minutes to get you fired up and then shove you in your tent with your sleeping bag. And then I'm taking the kids to go put them by a fire because they're shivering. And that's not fun at all. So definitely be sure you have enough insulation. Go ahead.
When I know we're not there for itinerary selection, but you know, if you're at Phillips or Black Horse Mine halfway up Baldy, I mean, that's going to be a cold night. I don't care if it's obviously going to be colder in the middle of June than middle of July, but you know, middle of July, it can certainly get down into the 30s and 40s.
Oh my goodness. Don't even talk to me about Comanche Peak too. That every time I've been up there, I'm like, I don't like it here. I mean, yeah, it's a nice view in some places, but it's cold and windy. And half the time I was there, it was blowing rain sideways. I was like, I don't like this. Send me anywhere but Comanche Peak. Okay, so we have about exhausted our hour time limit. I'm going to ask our panelists, what did we miss here that people need to know about gifting and putting together your gear list and distributing it to people? Oh, you know, while you think about that, I am scrolling through pictures on another screen. I'm looking for one that Scott O'Mary put together, and he had additional commitments with scouting this evening and couldn't make it. He put together a graphic that I have yet to find. I am over here. Or I can share what I'm doing here. Scrolling through the pictures in the group to find the one that he posted, and I have not located it yet, but it was like a pictorial representation of a gear list to circulate to all the people in his crew contingent. And yeah, I must be missing it here. I probably scrolled past it, but however you do it, I'm not going to suggest that someone who hadn't been to Philmont recently or does a lot of backpacking make a lot of personal recommendations to their crew for gear. Rely on the Philmont gear list, but definitely please be sure. There is so much to read. I can tell you most advisors don't read all the stuff they're supposed to. Most families absolutely aren't. You may assume that you sent it to them and they're going to read it. They're not. So make sure that you identify the things that are important and making sure that the scout has the right gear and doesn't have the wrong gear. You know, if you've ever been out with someone who's carrying 75 pounds worth of stuff when they should be carrying 30, you know, that gets miserable in a hurry for everyone involved. So make sure that, no offense, moms, but the moms aren't packing the pack. They're not the ones that are going to carry them for their kids, you know. They don't need all the just in case stuff. They need to have what they need and not a bunch of other stuff. So get that point across to them as they're making their list to distribute to people. What else do you guys want to mention before we shut her down?
I think knowing your crew, what they have, this is the time of year when you start looking at that stuff and start, planning to do some of the hikes and see what they have, and that's probably a good time to evaluate what they need. And they may not need those big ticket items; they may need the small stuff. So the stocking stuffers are easier to buy, and the socks are easier to buy than the sleeping bag and the other stuff. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I go along with that. The big ticket item and, things that need to be fitted, maybe the gift card is the way to go, for later purchase. And I know, Christmas, okay, the holidays, you want to surprise them, but, you could be way off base on it. So, you may want to be talking with the individual who's going. What is it that you either have that you don't need? What would you like? Those individuals are going. Start making a wish list, like Andy mentioned. I mean, it doesn't have to be as, technology, is what Andy uses, but writing it down on a piece of paper.
Yep.
Some of the items. I need some socks. I need gloves. I need water bottles. Things like that. Talk with the individual, and as Jeff said, read the literature. The Philmont packing lists and gear lists are pretty much right on.
Yeah. If you're going on this trek yourself and you're not sure, reach out to those in your troop that have gone, that are experienced, that know the Philmont way, and can give you some ideas. And then, this is the time of year to make your list and check it twice. So, do a little homework, do your research, and get that ahead of time. And then let those people that want to help you out, give them some time to take advantage of the Black Friday deals and all that stuff over the holidays. So.
Well said. All right. Thanks, everyone. We are going to, I think we're going to commit to do this every month through the summer trek season. I hope I didn't jinx it by saying that. We intend to do it every month. We talk about Philmont year round. So please come back. We are the second Tuesday of each month at 9 p.m. Eastern time. You can also find us typically, as long as Facebook cooperates, you'll be able to find it in the past video files in the Philmont Trek Talk group on Facebook. You can go to the Camping Gear Report YouTube channel and find the live broadcast there, as well as they should be showing up again on the main Gear Report website here shortly. We had some issues right before we, with the last couple episodes showing up. We have a live show section and a Philmont Trek Talk Q&A, and it looks like they're there, but when you click on them, they don't actually play. And I haven't figured out why. I was hoping it was going to make me a liar and actually play. I uploaded them. They're there, but for whatever reason, they're not playing. So I have signed up for a new service. I'm paying, I don't even know how much I'm paying to have a new podcast hosting service. And I will get this one posted there. So you can subscribe on any of the big podcast platforms and get these as soon as I get that set up and running. But for now, I think that's going to wrap us up. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. We'll see you next time. I think we're done.
Yep.
I think. All right, what do you ask a question?
Anybody not ready?
Icon.